Hi everyone, this is Kayvon, and in this video, I'm just going to be venting some anger. I am fucking sick of seeing the hateful bullshit posted by white supremacists in comments on this channel. I have received an unbelievable amount of hate on here for speaking out against white supremacy, for presuming that terribly preposterous presumption that the United States government could be institutionally racist, or dominated in terms of power by white people. And these people who comment on here do not want to let me forget just how wrong I apparently am. The amount of anti-Semitic hatred I've seen on here is astounding. And I know that it's little compared to other places on the internet, but it's been bad. And if you look through the comment sections in most of my videos, you won't find much hate speech because I've cleaned it up, and I consistently clean it up, and I prevent a lot of comments from ever going through moderation filters, and I make sure to delete certain kinds of things when I see them and block those who comment them, because I do not want that shit on here staining the good work that I'm trying to do and hurting other people who would be affected by it. But nonetheless, I have received a shit ton of comments in the last couple months, and some of it just makes me want to vomit. One of the main things people have to say is, don't you mean when you say the United States government is white supremacist, that the United States government is Jewish and run by Jewish supremacists who hate white people? First of all, who are you to define Jewishness? I don't think that the people who make those comments are Jewish, or at least would accept it if they were. And who are they to try to define it? I have never said that the people who run the United States government do not have any Jewish blood in them. I myself come from a perpetrator family, and my mother's side of the family has some Jewish blood. I do not consider myself Jewish enough to be qualified to truly define Jewishness. I think it's subjective and should be left to people who are more Jewish than me. But I can say that it is complex, and I can say that the one-drop rule is bullshit. By the one-drop rule, I'm a Jew, but I don't practice Judaism. I did not grow up around Jewish people who were free to practice Judaism. I grew up with Nazis who taught me Satanism and antisemitism as ways of life. One thing I do have in common with Jewish people is the experience of antisemitism. And one thing I deeply and profoundly have in common with Jews is my link to the Holocaust. This is not something that I have outlined in a video yet. It is too painful for me, but I've decided I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it now. And because I'm angry, I'm in a place of anger. I'm not going to do so as well as I would like, but I am going to do so from a place that's heartfelt. Ritual abuse and mind control and slavery have been around for thousands of years. But things changed during World War II when a man named Joseph Mengele came along and began conducting experiments on patients, wow, I've been well trained, on victims in Auschwitz. Not all those who Mengele experimented on in Auschwitz were Jewish, but it's my understanding that the majority were. And at least that he had a definite focus, as he was an anti-Semite himself. He was a Nazi. Some of the earliest MK-Ultra experiments, the ones I call MK-Ultra, happened there, even though REMC had been around a long time. Some of the earliest MK-Ultra experiments, what really makes MK-Ultra, happened in Auschwitz. And they happened to Jews. And they happened at the hands of a Nazi doctor. This same Nazi doctor was smuggled into the United States during Operation Paperclip in the 1940s, along with many other Nazis, to do experimentation, research for the United States government. Mengele was, from what I understand, the head of their mind control program. People have called him the father of Monarch mind control, and they've done so for a reason. They've also called him the Angel of Death, and they have done so for a reason. He was apparently the only SS officer, by some accounts, who enjoyed making the selections. I read that others had to get drunk to do it. But if I recall correctly, I read that Mengele did it sober and took pleasure in getting to choose whether people lived or died. This was the kind of man who founded Monarch Mind Control. This was the kind of man people dubbed the Angel of Death. Like I said, they did so for a reason. This man was a psychopath, and I spent a lot of time letting go of anger towards him. I was told, and I was shown footage of this. Footage of this, that if the people in it are the people that my perpetrators said they were, then this is real. I was told that my father was programmed by Joseph Mengele himself in the 1950s. My father talked about Joseph Mengele like he was his own father, like he was his God, into his middle age. My father prided himself on being an old-school Mengelean mind control programmer, taking after his quote-unquote father, Mengele. I have no way to know this, but it wouldn't surprise me if Joseph Mengele was my father's father. But either way, he had Stockholm Syndrome with him for sure, and considered him to be. And I've heard that this is the case for many others, and I've seen others who were supposedly programmed by Mengele who talked about him the same way. The level of Stockholm Syndrome was unbelievable. And for my father, it was about literally being Mengele himself. So my wound with that man goes deep. And I know for many other MK-Ultra victims, it goes deep too. And for many Jews, it goes deep too. For me, MK-Ultra is not just about Mengele, but it's about Auschwitz itself. I am not, nor will I ever be, a Holocaust denier. Not just because I want to believe Jewish people and their stories, and take what they say on good faith, but because I've seen video footage from it myself. I have seen tapes of what the Nazis did to Jews during the Holocaust in Germany, in Poland, and other places as well, that transcend any words that anyone could ever place on that situation. I've seen the footage. I saw it as a child. I don't want to talk about it, but I've seen it, and it was real. I'm not saying that the CIA can't fake shit, but I'm telling you, that shit was real. I can feel it, and have felt it my whole life, in the deepest place in my heart. That the Holocaust happened during World War II, and that it was moved largely to America. And it showed up in the form of MK-Ultra, and it showed up in the form of Mengele and those other Nazi scientists that we smuggled in during Operation Paperclip, and it has lived on since. The Holocaust has not ended. And while it's not just Jews who suffer at the hands of this, but everyone, but there's no separating Jewish identity, Jewish culture, from the Holocaust as it was during World War II, and there's no separating it from MK-Ultra. When I read Elie Wiesel's Night, when I was 11, it prompted me to try to free myself in a way I never had before. The late Elie Wiesel is one of the main reasons that I'm even out and talking. At 11, I wasn't really able to express my emotions about it. But when I read it again when I was about 18 years old, early in my deprogramming, I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed, and I feel like I was there, and I was one with the spirit of the Jewish victims of Auschwitz. And I felt their agony. I was one with them. And I believe that is because, as an MK-Ultra victim, and as someone who does have some Jewish heritage, that my heart and soul was there. Sorry for the background sound. And I feel that my heart and soul is still there. And as I grieve, I lighten my load and I let go. But I don't think that wounds like this ever heal. Not fully. So, when I see people say that the Holocaust never happened, and when I see people say, don't you mean it's the Jews, not the Nazis, that run these concentration camps in America? I say, fuck you. Fuck you. I have Jewish blood in me, and I was trained as a Nazi, and I was told to deny it, and I was told to act like I wanted to see the fucking Third Reich come down, and the NWO rise, and all that fucking crazy bullshit, and see the Aryan race sit on top of its fucking rightful satanic throne. So you want to tell me after that experience that the people who do this shit are Jews? Fuck you. And fuck the people who say that I didn't see enough of the world to really know the truth, that it's not about white supremacy, because I saw that comment too, and others that said similar things, I think. I traveled all over the world. I was trafficked all over the world. I never said in that testimony that I wasn't. I said I was taken to Uncle Sam's, I think I said on a near nightly basis, and that's true, but I was also frequently taken all over the world. And I can tell you that the people who run the United States government are Nazis. And I can tell you that in other places they do perpetrate these crimes against humanity, also people of other races, and I don't deny that. But they're not the United States government. It seems like a lot of the people who commented don't realize that the United States is not the entire world. American specialism, that's what I like to call it. The phrase is American exceptionalism, but I like to call it American specialism. I have my reasons for that. It's kind of a private joke. It's a very sick and sad thing. The narcissism here. And the narcissism amongst white supremacists here really, really sickens me. I was never treated like I was white where I grew up. My father, being half Irish and looking like Ireland's goddamn map, he was not treated like he was white either. And my mother, with her Jewish heritage, because she had blonde hair and blue eyes, because it was Germanic as well, she was able to pass to a degree that my father was not. And she was treated like she was more white than most because she was so vicious in her antisemitism, as well as her hatred towards people of other races. My grandmother, by all definitions, a Nazi, an old school one. She was the one who passed on Jewish blood to my mother. That's my understanding. My mother then passed it on to me. My grandmother, the hypocrisy of that woman. I remember her sitting at a dinner table, a family gathering, with her large nose and her pearl necklace and her nice clothes in her daughter's mansion, ranting about the arrogance of greedy Jewish women with their big noses. In my opinion, while I do not feel like I am qualified to truly define Jewishness, God, I can't even say what I was about to say, it just hurts too much. So, Yeah. Last thing I'm going to say here is if you want to take from this, somehow put a twist on this, and take anti-Semitism from what I'm saying, just remember, these are people who are mostly of English and Germanic heritage. There's very little Jewish blood in them, for the most part. So if you want to try and attribute their behavior to race, please attribute it to what is most predominantly in their blood, the races you so glorify. Thank you.